One of the biggest questions I always get as a real estate agent is, does it really make sense to buy if I could just rent? It seems like if I just rent, it's way simpler of a process and it's going to be cheaper than if I get a mortgage. Well, in today's video, I'm going to go over a cost comparison for New Hampshire on if you should rent an apartment or if you should go and actually buy a house. And in this video, I'm going to be going over this cost with a 2-bedroom unit versus around a $350,000 home, which is typical for around a starter home here in New Hampshire. Of course, depending where you look, prices can be much higher than that, but 350 is going to be what I'm using because I have gotten people into houses as first-time buyers at this price. And it's a great comparison. It's no good to compare an apartment versus a $500,000 house because typically if you're renting an apartment, the first house you're going to buy isn't going to be that expensive. So we're going to go into this right now. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Moynihan. I'm a real estate agent and investor based out of Keene, New Hampshire. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, feel free to reach out to me. Or in the description below, there is a link that you can actually schedule a 30-minute consultation with me, whether you're looking to buy or sell. And we can just talk, see if I can actually help you in the process and see what's the best move for you. So without further ado, let's get right into this cost comparison of renting versus buying. So the first thing we're going to get out of the way is what's the cost of rent here in New Hampshire. Now, for the average across the state for a 2-bedroom apartment last year was about $1,800 per month. Now, with inflation coming in 2025, I could expect to see those go a little bit higher, maybe $1,900, $2,000 a month. Now, of course, depending on where you're looking in New Hampshire, if you're looking over here in Keene, you can probably find a 2-bedroom right around that 18. If you're looking on the seacoast over by Portsmouth, well, guess what? A 2-bedroom is probably going to run you $2,200, if not $2,500. But we're going to keep the benchmark right around the middle and say $1,900 for an average 2-bedroom apartment here in New Hampshire. Now, of course, the only cost of renting isn't just the rent. You do have renter's insurance, which is about $15, $20 a month. And then if you don't have utilities included, which a lot here in New Hampshire don't really have utilities included, well, typically that's around $150 to $200 additional per month. So let's say for a 2-bedroom apartment, you're around $2,100 cost each month. And just remember, yes, renting is easier to get into. Yes, renting's more flexible. You can move after your lease is up. If you're on month to month, you can give a 30-day notice and be out of there. But again, this money is stuff you're paying each and every month that is just disappearing and you're never going to see a return on that. And maybe at the end of your lease, well, guess what? If you treated the apartment really nice, you might get your full security deposit back. That's about as good as it's going to get with this renting. Now let's dive into the cost of going to buy a $350,000 home. So say you buy a $350,000 home, and in this scenario, I'm going to just say you put 10% down, which is about $35,000. Now, just because I'm using this, it's just for numbers, but you can get into a house as low as 3%. FHA has 3.5%. And there are options to get in lower than 10% down. Just keep that in mind. But we're going to run it here at 10%. So you're paying $35,000 down and you're going to have a $315,000 loan that we're going to rough estimate at about 6.5% interest over 30 years. That brings the principal and interest for your mortgage at $1,990 a month, $1,990 a month. Now, of course, just like rent, that's not your only cost you have. You have property taxes. New Hampshire, property taxes are pretty high. For this scenario, we're running at about $6,600 a year, which is about $550 a month. Then we got insurance. Homeowner insurance can fluctuate depending where you are, but for this, we're going to say it's around $80 to $100 a month. So we're going to say $90 a month. And then I did throw in maintenance. Now, this we just put at 1% of the home value per year. It really depends what your house needs. It could be more the initial year, then maybe you go 5 years without doing anything. But say you're smart and you put some money away for repairs when things do go wrong, because now you own the house and things will go wrong. It's just when will they go wrong. So say you put $290 or so away a month, just in case something happens, you're ready. So rough estimate, you're around $2,920 a month. We're going to call it about $2,900 just because it's a lot easier to think about. So $2,100 for renting, $2,900 a month for owning a $350,000 house. Now, again, Buying's going to be a little bit more, of course, but you're also buying a house. You're the owner now. You get to do whatever you want to that house. It is now your house. You don't have to listen to a landlord. You don't have to get a 30-day notice saying, hey, I'm doing renovations. You got to leave. You are the owner. You get to reap the equity. You get to reap the appreciation and all that good stuff that comes with home ownership. So like I said, the head-to-head comparison, renting is at $2,100 a month. Buying's at $2,900 a month. It's about an $800 difference. Now, to do a little bit of a longer term view, say you're here 5 years and you're renting at that rate of what we said. That's about $126,000 you're spending on rent over a 5-year period. Gone. You're never seeing that $126,000 ever again. That's in the landlord's pocket now. But if you were to buy, well, guess what? Now you're paying $175,000 over 5 years, but you've paid down your loan by at least $35,000 and you have some annual appreciation. We're going to say around 5%. So that adds $96,000 in value right there. And that's a net gain for you because now you're the owner of the house. So when you're paying down your mortgage, not only are you paying off your loan, but you're building more equity in your house. And with the annual appreciation, that's adding even more to your net worth of your house and of you, because the net worth is what you are minus your debts, or what you own minus your debts, I should say. So now we understand that they're pretty comparable, honestly. $800 per month more is a little bit of a stretch, but you're owning the property. It's yours 100%. Now, some things to consider if you're still like, well, I think renting would be best for me. Well, renting wins if you're in New Hampshire for a short period of time. Maybe you're only going to be in New Hampshire for a job reason or for something, or you have plans to move in the future, and you only have, say, 2 to 4 years here. Don't buy. That makes no sense. Renting wins if you can't save enough or you don't have a good enough credit score to actually qualify for a loan. Again, you don't need that $35,000, 10% down. You can do 3%, you can do 3.5%, and New Hampshire Housing actually offers things for down payment assistance where it can actually lower that number even more if you qualify for that. And again, renting wins if you love zero maintenance and you don't have to take any care of the property and you don't care what happens because it's not your building. Now, buying wins if you're going to see yourself here in New Hampshire a little bit longer, say 3+ years, 5+ years, you see yourself here. Well, guess what? Then you're going to be able to see some annual appreciation and you're going to actually be able to pay down that loan a little bit in that time, so it makes more sense. Buying also wins if you want to take that equity and actually have it for yourself instead of paying down your landlord's mortgage and having him keep the equity. And buying also wins if you really want to take advantage of buying a house and seeing that appreciation. Because guess what? I've bought in 2 houses myself. The first one was back in 2019. At the time, I thought this was way overpriced. I'm paying too much money. Well, guess what? 4 years later, that almost doubled in value. The next time I bought was in 2022. I said, no way, that looks like it's too expensive. I got a decently good deal, and even this one has added about $50,000 to $70,000 worth of equity since 2022. So just because sometimes you feel like you're at the top of the market, you feel like, no, I can't do this, just understand real estate's a really long-term gain. And even if you do buy and it dips, well, guess what? If you look at every chart showing the appreciation of real estate, it's going to go up in the end because that's just the way it works. Especially with the scarcity of housing here in New Hampshire, it's still continuing to go up in value. And a couple things I want to point out before I end this video is New Hampshire, if you're moving from out of state, you don't know too much about New Hampshire. New Hampshire has no sales tax or income tax for the state, but we get really hit hard on property taxes. So if you're moving from out of state, you really want to make sure you're taking into account the cost of those property taxes while you're looking at houses and how much it'll cost to have a mortgage up here, because that can inflate it a lot compared to other places, especially the southern part of the United States. They have a lot lower taxes than us up here in New Hampshire. Another thing is, I just want to say $350,000. If you're looking on the real estate market in New Hampshire, you're gonna be like, how? That seems impossible. But you really just want to understand what you're going to be able to get for $350,000. If you're looking in Manchester, New Hampshire for a nice house at $350,000, it's going to be pretty tough. But if you're flexible with either a little bit of a fixer-upper or a condo, it'll be great. If you're out here towards Keene, where I'm located, well, you can find something in $350,000 that's move-in ready and you're good to go. So it just depends where you're looking. And then with the property taxes, you can try to look at different towns because some towns do have a much lower property tax rate than other towns. Like I sold a house that was about a $400,000 house, and if it was here in Keene, it had, what did it have? I think over 45 acres. If it was here in Keene, taxes would have been insane. They probably would have been like $12,000 a year. But it was over in Stoddard, New Hampshire, where they have a really low tax rate, and it was like $4,200 a year, which is just crazy. So get yourself a real estate pro. I say this every video because it really is important, especially if you're just new to real estate or new to New Hampshire. You want someone that knows what they're talking about and is going to tell it to you just straight, bluntly and straight up. This is what you're looking at. So if you were choosing right now, what would you pick? Would you pick renting at $2,100 a month, or would you pick the option of buying at $2,900 a month, $800 more, but you get to reap so many more benefits? Let me know down below in the comments. And again, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest up here in New Hampshire, just feel free, down below in the description, I have a link that you can schedule a 30-minute consultation with me and we can discuss your real estate plans, see how I can help, and take it from there. So I hope this video added some value, and I will catch you guys next week with another one.